Hello friends, today we'll be discussing about thesis. I'm Dr. Suresh Badadmat, Professor of Psychiatry, working at NIMANS, Bangalore. In this video, I'll be discussing about research protocol. How to write this research protocol, how to choose the guide, how to choose a topic, framing the right research question, how to write the research protocol. That will be discussed in this video. First and the foremost, before you start planning for a thesis, you need to know why should one has to do the thesis. Primarily, you have to do thesis. Basically, it is a partial fulfillment of your degree. It may be post-graduation, graduation, such as MD, DNB, MS, MPhil, PhD. So one main reason is you need to get the degree, hence you are doing it. Second one is, it is there basically to appreciate the scientific studies. How do you do that and how to understand the study? Learning to do research. So these are the three reasons you need to do the thesis. But however, there are some more reasons. One is for the purpose of publication, so that your CV looks good. If you are going to be a teacher in an academic institution, think of your students. You will be a teacher. So when you have to guide your students, then you need to know how to do research. And finally, the remote reasons are, hope your thesis gets you a job, award, recognition, going abroad, and rarely it can be a groundbreaking research. But the primary reason is for the partial fulfillment of your degree. Let's understand what is the difference between thesis and dissertation. Thesis is usually done during the undergraduate or the postgraduate, whereas dissertation is part of postdoctoral or doctoral or PhD. It is a partial fulfillment for your UG or PG courses in thesis, whereas in dissertation, it is the major requirement. That means PhD is basically revolving around your dissertation. It is based on existing research, especially thesis. That means thesis is done with incremental research. Very, very rarely a groundbreaking research occurs. Whereas in dissertation, it is based on original work, novel idea. Thesis is very small, it will be around 75 to 125 pages, whereas dissertation crosses sometime 250 to 350. In many a time, it may be even 500 pages. So, dissertation is a standalone research done by the researcher, whereas thesis is a part and partial fulfillment of the degree. Let's first understand how to choose a guide. Many a time when you are studying either in the medical college or various institutions, you may have a choice or you may not have a choice. If you do not have any choice to choose a guide, that means the guides are allotted by the institution or maybe the department. You do not have any role. If there is an option of choosing a guide, this you need to ask your seniors when you enter into the institution, maybe 1 or 2 days after the admission. Check whether the thesis is there, and for the thesis, whether the guide is allotted or you have a choice to choose the guide. If there is a choice, ask your seniors and also maybe senior residents and know your guide well. And remember, when you do thesis, guide is always right. Learn to deal your guide's temperament, because your whole post-graduation or the graduation degree, this thesis will determine your quality of life. And whether you learn research or not will be dependent upon the guide. Because if you start fighting with the guide, invariably your quality of life will come down. At the same time, you may not learn research and you'll start hating the research. That should not happen. At the same time, you should know how much time the guide will give you, whether he is a very busy person. He may not have any time at all. So you need to be wise choosing the guide if you have an opportunity. At the same time, whenever you want to meet your guide, please go in person and meet. Writing mail or WhatsApp messages, making phone calls, many a time the senior guides may not like this. You need to meet them in person and talk to them and see whether they are comfortable over the phone call or video call, or they would like to meet in person. If the guide says, you can request for a co-guide so that the co-guide can assist you in doing the thesis. And if there is an option of selecting a guide, discuss with your immediate seniors, teachers, others. Read your guide's publication. That means go to PubMed, search, approach early. Because many a time what happens is the students who are very smart, as soon as they join the graduation or the post-graduation, they will approach the guide and request them, telling that I have read your papers 1, 2, 3, and this paper 2 is very, very interesting. I would like to take that research forward. The guide will be very happy to guide you. So, in such a scenario, you have to make your smart move at the earliest and start working in the area of guide's research interest. That means if you have your own interest and you say the guide to guide you, you may not be able to guide because it is not his area of interest. Hence, know your guide's interest, work in the area where the guide is working, and if the guide knows that area very well, he will guide you, and who knows, you may get a publication. Student guide relationship will determine the quality of life during your graduation or post-graduation. Not only that, if the relationship sustains, a mentee-mentor relationship may grow, and your guide may help you in future research or job prospectus. And many a time, these mentors will help the student to grow. So with this understanding whether the guide can be chosen or not, you need to now move towards selecting a topic. When you select a topic for research, these are the 5 important criteria you should know. Whether the research topic is feasible, is it interesting or innovative, novel, that is new, whether it is ethical, or that research what you are doing, is it relevant to time? Let's look into each one of them. Feasibility, that means whether the research what you are doing, can it be done in the institution where you are studying. Suppose if it requires MRI, CT scan, or may certain lab tests which are not there in your institution, then the feasibility goes down. Suppose you want to do a study in disaster survivors, whether those subjects, do they come to your institution? So those are the things you need to ask. Feasibility of the study, whether it is interesting or innovative. It should be interesting to you or to your guide, or to the people at large would like to know about your thesis, or that is the area where now the whole public is looking for. So whether it is innovative, basically it is also the whether it is novel. It need not be a excellent novel study. A minor incremental in the study also may be considered as novel, or it may be minor incremental in changes in the methodology, whether ethical, and whether it is relevant to the time. Suppose you start study now and you will be submitting by another 2 years down the line. Whether during that time, whether this study is relevant or not, because the publication will occur after another 2 or 3 years down the line. That means whether the research will it be relevant by 3 years from now, minimum should be thought. Now, if your guide is a researcher and is publishing very well, just listen to him. He knows very well and he will guide you in the area. But you need to learn how to choose a topic. Talk to your guide. Sir, I understood that you are suggesting me this topic. Please help me to understand how to go about. That should be the way, rather than challenging your guide. Because if your guide is a very well read person, published more than 100 publications, he knows well, just listen to him. So, how to choose a topic? Suppose you decide, and also the guide says you will do research with regard to COVID vaccine. Okay, the topic is chosen now. That is the COVID vaccine. That is the area of research. Now the question comes is how to go specific questions. Now the question is whether adult or children. So both of you, the guide and the student decides they will do it on children. Again, with regard to what? Is it regard to side effects? Next question will be what type of side effects? CNS side effects. So you need to be very specific. Though you have chosen the research topic, the topic may be very broad. Now the question should be very specific. What question you are going to question in your research? And COVID-related vaccine side effects in children, if there is a systematic study, bingo, you have already ready-made literature review. If you study this literature of review, you'll be able to know what is happening till that day. And it should be a recent publication. And now you should know how systematic review is done so that you know how literature review is done. Once you know that, you can move forward. In this study, there are 70 references. Check each references, go through those studies. That means you have got a ready-made literature review and introduction. For example, how to focus your research questions. It is similar to going in a unfamiliar area, or it may be called as unfamiliar mall. If you're going there, you don't know where is the mall. You will use the navigator like Google Map. It will guide you where to go. At the same time, once you reach the mall, you will go inside the mall, observe. You will observe what's happening, and you want to buy a laptop. Then you will ask in the inquiry, where is the laptop shops? They may suggest you which are the shops available, and they may say there are 2-3 shops. You will go to that shop and you will again talk to the salesperson. That means you have been guided even to buy a laptop. And then finally, depending upon your requirement, you'll ask such questions. Is it based upon the speed you require? Is it for gaming? Is it for animation? Is it the economical condition or the funds, what is required? Or else after sale services are good? Based upon that, you will make your final decision. Similarly, in research question, you need to ask very specific to choose. And many a time the guide is the best person to focus your research questions, and he will be the right person to guide you. Imagine if you don't have a systematic review in the area of research focus, what should I do? You need to do a literature review. So how to do this literature review? To know literature review, you need to do PubMed search, Google search, Ebesco search, Science Direct, Cochrane, library search, and Ovid search. If you do not know most of them, at least you need to know how to do PubMed search. To know this, go to YouTube and learn by watching those videos how to do PubMed search. First and the foremost, do the review for past 3 to 5 years. If there are many research articles, focus only maximum 3 years. If your research is very, very rare, then you need to increase it to 5 years. At the same time, you get a PubMed login credentials or else an account. In PubMed, you can apply those keywords, and every week you can give order for articles which will be published in the area of research. So you will be kept updated any new articles published in the area of your research. Many a time, on day-to-day basis, in clinical practice, you can see certain questions asked by patients, or you can observe certain phenomena. Those can be considered for research. Many a time, visiting national conference, regional conference, maybe even the state conference, observe the presentation, posters, interact with the senior psychiatrist or maybe senior physician, senior surgeons, maybe even the senior various researchers ask questions and check whether what is the best research questions can be formulated and what should be the methodology. Those kind of inquisitive questioning will help you refine your thesis. And at least read about 20 to 30 original articles in the area of research and ask and select certain research article. Can these research articles, whether such original article can be replicated in your college, whether those facilities available, those kinds of patients are coming, can I modify the study? Can I improvise on the study? What are the future directions given in these articles? Can I choose that as a research topic and research area? Whether the funds are available, whether you have adequate time, and finally the guide's verdict will be the area of your research and the research questions. So for that reason, you need to know the research area is a broad area, and from the broad area you will do PubMed research, and you will look into the original articles and you look into the research gap, and then again in the future directions given in those articles, you will choose research questions. That is how you are going to have a focused research questions which you will be answering in your research. Framing this research questions is very important. If your research questions is very broad, you will get a general answer and it will be criticized by the examiners. Hence, you need to have a focused question so that you will be able to answer focused and so that your methodology will be very focused. So you need to have a research questions very, very specific. Again, with regard to research questions, there are 5 important components. They are called as PICOT. PICOT means what is the population or subjects you are studying, whether they are well defined, a good inclusion and exclusion criteria is there, what is the intervention you are going to have, what is the exposure criteria you are going to consider, what is the observation you are going to do with them. Is it lab study or radiological study? What is that you'll be doing? Very specific. Whether you have control or a comparison group, or is it an open label trial? What is your outcome criteria? What is your primary outcome, secondary outcome, and the time period, whether you'll be able to finish this research. So this question should be answered by yourself. And you need to provide a good aim and objectives. What is aims? Aims is usually a broad area you are going to do research, and objectives are very, very specific. You will have primary 1 objective and 2 to 3 or maybe 4 secondary objectives. My sincere advice is have only 1 primary objective, maybe 2 or 3 secondary objectives if you have 1 year to study. If you have more than 1 primary objective, you are going to land in trouble. Unless your guide says that yes, we will consider this as a primary objective, and then your primary objective will be the criteria for your sample size, not on the basis on secondary objectives. So be very, very specific. Spend time, maybe 2 or 3 days, thinking about your aims and objectives. The aims is a broader, and the primary objective is the one you are asking a specific question. To answer that specific question, whether what type of methodology you are going to adapt. Now, we will move into the research protocol. You have discussed all these things. Now you know the research questions. Now, planning and drafting the research protocol. Before you start that, talk to your seniors and other research students. Ask them to give their research protocol. Ask for help. Ask for guidance. Invariably, there is a guide. Before you go to guide, do some background work. Read some past protocols. Look at the format and structure. Read past thesis. What is the format and structure? Because the protocol is the first step which will determine the direction of your journey. If your protocol is good, how it is going to be a thesis, you should know both. Hence, looking at the protocol format and how the thesis is done and what is the structure and format. If you know, you know your journey, how you are going, where you are going, and how much time it is required. Start drafting the research protocol. Look for the sample size and methodology. To assess sample size, now you need to go and meet the statistician. Don't send an email and ask, "Sir, I want to meet you." He will be least bothered because he doesn't know you. And you may introduce yourself, "I am a junior resident," or I'm the first year." He'll be least bothered. Please go and talk to him. Many a time they may be busy. Ask them, when can you come and meet them? Go and meet them, because they are the one who are going to teach you how to do statistics, how to do analysis, what should be the sample size, what should be the methodology for your primary objective. Look for what are the instruments required, what are the scales, whether they are copyrighted, whether they are available free, what is the lab, what is the investigations required, what are the rate limiting factor. Imagine you are going to do a lab test in microbiology or somewhere else, and they are not ready to support you, or else you have not got a co-guide from that department. Go and request them to be the co-guide. Talk to your guide so that that lab will support you. Look for rate limiting factors. Is it the sample size? Whether those sample is available, whether it is funding, whether it is doing radio imaging or is lab test. Those kinds of rate limiting factors should be thought before embarking into the study. And don't forget to involve statistician when you writing the research protocol. Draft the protocol and request your seniors to review it. And once they have done the review and the correction is done, then give it to the guide for his inputs. That is the way to go. If you have taken a very rough draft, your guide will think, what kind of student I'm guiding, and he will lose interest in your research protocol. That should not happen. His job should not be correcting your grammar, correcting your structure. He should be focusing on your research questions, focusing on your methodology. So his time is constructively utilized for critiquing your thesis protocol. And at the same time, in your methodology, define the variables, define what is the case, who are the subjects, what are the inclusion criteria, what are the exclusion criteria, defining the outcome variables, defining the measures, how to handle the missing data, how to handle the dropouts. That needs to be defined before in hand when you are writing the protocol. And finally, know the format of research protocol. Various universities have their own research protocol. I am giving one of the research protocol here. Here, the title should be depicting the study. Don't make sensationalizing your title. That is not a research protocol. You are just being very journalistic, not a researcher. So your title should depict what you are going to study, so that the reader should gain attention. Your title should gain attention, ask for attention, and the reader will focus, or the researcher will focus on your study. Do a good introduction, maybe 1 page. Do a literature review and gap research. You should know, and it should be around 3 to 4 pages. Aim set the objectives. 1 primary objective, 2 or 3 secondary objective, methodology, sample size, inclusion criteria, exclusion criteria, what is the procedure you are going to adopt, what are the instruments, what is the lab technology you are going to adapt, what is the radio imaging studies you are going to do, how much time you will take with each participant, what is the informed consent, and if you are going to take permission from the authors, those scales, whether that is copyrighted, whether you are buying them, and if you may require administrative approval, such as if you are doing a study in a school or college, you need to have the administrative approval. If you are doing a study in a prison, you need to get the approval from the administrators. Hence, you need to get those approval when you are submitting the protocol. At the same time, think about what is the statistics you are going to use. Ask for your statistician what are those statistics you are going to use. At the same time, you are submitting for ethics committee, hence you need to come up with a consent form and references. So this is how research protocol is written. And this research protocol should be SMART protocol. What do you mean by SMART? The SMART protocol will have a specific questions, which is measurable, which is achievable, which is realistic and time bound. That is the SMART protocol you are going to write, and you will execute the thesis. So that thesis will start with a SMART protocol. If your SMART protocol is there, your 50% work is done. And you will now submit for approval. You will be submitting for approval for ethics committee, and sometime there may be a separate scientific committee. And if you are doing a study and you are going to publish, please register in CTRI, that is Clinical Trial Registry of India, that is National Institute of Medical Statistics of ICMR, will register this protocol. So you register this, and when you are submitting for publication, they will ask this number and plan for how much time you are spending. So have a Gantt chart. So you will know how you are going through your research, whether it is in time, whether you are writing the protocol, whether you are collecting the data. If you know at this point of time, the journey becomes very easy and you will enjoy doing research. If you don't follow the timeline, you will be at stress. You will start hating the research and you will never enjoy the research, and it will be very difficult to learn research. To conclude, my dear friends, especially when you write a thesis or a research protocol, start early, do background work, talk to friends, seniors, senior teachers, ask them for which is the best guide available, whether you can choose the guide, whether you can choose the topic, what should be your broader area of research, what are those research questions, and research questions should be very focused and they need to fulfill the final criteria. And your protocol, when you draft, what should be the structure and format, and the protocol should be SMART. Take appropriate approvals, submit for them, and submit the protocol in time. Thank you very much for your valuable time. Stay safe.